Good morning from OG Star Wars. This is Laura Baga, and I just want to give my opinion, my thoughts about Iger's confessions that he recently did in his memoirs about George Lucas and how George felt he was betrayed. I'm coming to you in my art studio and my crazy computer right here. It's got a CD stuck in the drive, so it's making this crazy sound. So anyways, back to the topic here. So I'm here with my coffee. Good morning. And so let's get down to the facts, or down to my opinion, not facts, but my opinion regarding this whole confessions of Iger. All right, so I spent yesterday probably into the evening listening to all the YouTubers that I respect in our Star Wars community give their opinion, their thoughts, the heartfelt words regarding George and this whole Bob Iger confession. And many of you guys have great points. There are some passive ones. Well, he sold the business, so he deserves what he gets. Others are like, there has to be more than to what Iger is saying because George felt betrayed. And so I agree with all of that, but I'm going to expound on it in a different light. First, I'm going to begin with this quote that George said to Congress in 1988. People who alter or destroy works of art or cultural heritage for profit or as an exercise of power are barbarians. So George said this in 1988, and this rings true today, especially with the climate that we're seeing here in Star Wars and Iger's confessions on how George felt betrayed. Everybody went through his interviews and covered all that good stuff. So I'm just going to point out what I seen in one of his interviews when he had Kennedy with him. Okay, so let's get down to that. All right. So George had told Kennedy in the interview that he has a treasure trove for her and the company for the franchise to use. Basically, he said he has more treatments, movie treatments, stories, 100 books, comics to expand on, a treasure trove. So that's just paraphrasing. So then she rebuttals, and I see it as a rebuttal, that they had to think like George, and that it's not like Lord of the Rings or one of them, I'm not very versed on that one, where there's books to go by and novels to go by and a written story, and that it's all in George's head. And I thought to myself, did she not listen to exactly what he was stating in that interview, that he handed them a treasure trove of material, story treatments, 100 books. So that's basically the expanded universe, okay? And comics. And there's also the games, because the games, even though it did follow continuity, but when you played it, sometimes it was your own version, I guess you could say. It still was part of the story. And he handed all that to the company when he sold it. Then he sold them a separate story treatment. Why would you then purchase story treatments after you purchase the company and not use your investment? See, that's not what I don't get that. As a business person, I own my own art studio. I am a yoga teacher, and I have taught dance. So I am versed in in business plans. You don't buy something you're not going to use. That's just a waste of money. So basically they wasted money buying those story treatments because they did not use them. Okay, so I'm gonna end on this. It is morning time and I have a lot to do, and so I thought I'd put my thoughts and my heartfelt words towards George, the maker of Star Wars, the mastermind behind Star Wars, is that my heart goes out to him. There has to have been some kind of understanding or agreement when he sold the stories. And then so we're going to get to what the story treatments were about. And basically what the rumors are and what is told is that they were of the Wills. Now, before I close here, I'm going to expound on this a little bit more. George had said many times in the past that the Skywalker family story ends with Return of the Jedi when it pertains to the movies. Yes, they expanded on Luke's story and recreating the Jedi Order in the EU, but basically in his mind, the storytelling for the family within the films ends in Return of the Jedi. So when he gave the story treatments from the rumors, speculations, or whatever, it is of the Wills. And so the rumors, speculations behind that is it expands on the Force, the Wills, the beings that are called the Wills, and how the Force became. And also then it says that Luke was also involved in this story treatment. So then I have to think back, how would he tie this in to what is established in his continuity, in his franchise, which he and his staff and his franchise were brilliant, because they created, George included, because he not only expanded on this franchise from his mastermind with the movies, he helped design the EU with either contributing to the stories or even approving the stories, and most of all improving the main character storylines. So so what I'm getting at here is that they maintain continuity, 25 centuries history in the Star Wars lore. That is amazing. No other franchise can say that. Never rebooted until now. Okay, so what I'm getting at here is with this story treatment, if it is true that Luke is included in this, I am guessing that this story treatment is after Crucibles. Why do I say that? Because Crucibles, in one of the story plots, is that Luke is looking for Mortis, or he found Mortis, or he thinks he found Mortis. And also too, in Fate of the Jedi, at the very last novel, he sends out Jedis to go find Abeloth to make sure that they get rid of her so that she doesn't create havoc in the future for the galaxy. And a part of that journey was finding the Mortis. And part of that journey, Luke was stepping away from the Jedi Order so that he can heal himself, he can have time for himself, and he can also find, you know, more. He can also, I guess you could say, investigate, like he investigated Jason's ascending into Darth Caedus. And so what I'm getting at with that is that keeping continuity with what I've seen in the history of Star Wars and George helping even with the expanded universe, that this looks like it is a continuation after Crucibles, because it says that Luke is exiled, and I really don't think Luke is exiled. I think that he is off, like I said, healing and resolving issues and exploring and finding more answers to Mortis, to Abeloth, to destroy her. And so leaving the Jedi Order to the next Grand Master, and also to his niece Jaina, who is now a master, and his son, who probably will be master, and expanding on their stories. So that's what I'm getting with this. And so that's just my thoughts. So if you have any thoughts about that, share below with me. Let's kind of expand on that, the what ifs, if George did a sequel trilogy and if the treatments were basically along that line. So I'm going to end with this now. Okay, let me take a sip. With this Feige, geez, I just seen a pop-up on my notifications about Feige and Star Wars, and that's another topic. But anyways, with Iger's confession, yes, I was pissed yesterday. I felt awful for George, and I felt humiliated as a fan. I felt disheartened as a fan. we knew this was coming because we've seen the evidence in George's interviews. This just makes it come full circle. So now we know the state of Star Wars. Now we know exactly where Disney wants to take this, and they don't care about the franchise. They don't care about the lore. They just want to expand their own story for their own profit. They never had the lore in mind. The first evidence was the trashing the EU into the Legends bin, saying it's not canon. So I want to leave this with you. Think about everything that has been premiering in the last few days with this confession of Iger, and search your heart, search your mind, your heart, and look at all the evidence and stuff, and think about exactly what we're gonna get with E9. Okay, and stay true to your love of Star Wars. If you like Star Wars, both Disney canon and the original canon, good for you. If you only like Disney and Star Wars, good for you. If you love just George's era of Star Wars, awesome. But remember, we all love Star Wars. George created Star Wars, and to me, I will defend him more than Disney, because he's the original creator. So now I'm just babbling a little bit more because, like I said, this touches my heartstrings, and I thought about doing a video when I was mad, but I'd rather come back in here calm, cool, and collected. And I am a big EU fan, and my life began with the OT, not my life, but my love life with Star Wars began with the OT, expanded with the prequel trilogy, and then from there went into the EU. And right now I'm more versed in the Empire all the way into Fate of the Jedi and Legacy eras, so post Return of the Jedi. I am expanding now back into more of the prequel era of the EU and way back previous to that. So I'm enjoying my journey. And so I'm going to say this to George. Thank you so much for giving us a lore that we can just explore and enjoy. You know, your creativity, your mastermind behind and creating such a vast universe, a fictional universe of history that goes 25,000 centuries of history. Thank you so much. You and your team did an excellent job, and my heart is sad that we're getting what we're getting right now. But I'll always be here with the expanding universe, you know, comparing, contrasting with George's era and Disney's era, and also expanding on the stories within the original EU. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Sorry I got a little bit rambly here. I am new at making content, so bear with me. This is my coffee time, my coffee moment with you guys. So yeah, may the force be with you.